There are moments in life when silence is no longer a virtue, when the truth must be spoken clearly and without apology. This is one of those moments. Because too many women have been taught to endure, to please, to tolerate. But the time has come, not for endurance, but for awakening. This is a call not just to listen, but to feel every word. If your peace has ever been shaken, if your heart has ever whispered that something feels wrong but you didn't have the courage to walk away, then this message is for you. There are certain things a person should never ask of you, not because you are too proud to give, but because giving them would mean the loss of something even more sacred, your dignity, your center, your inner stillness. The first sign is subtle, almost invisible, and yet it is the most dangerous. When someone asks you to stay silent about what hurts you, they are not protecting peace, they are protecting power. They want your compliance, not your healing. And silence when forced becomes a prison. A wise woman does not trade her voice for approval. She knows that speaking up is not a disruption, it is a declaration. Never stay where your truth must be buried to maintain the comfort of others. The second request often comes disguised as love. They may ask you to give up something that defines you, your dreams, your beliefs, your discipline, your solitude. Not in the name of balance, but in the name of control. A person who truly sees you will never ask you to shrink so they can feel tall. A flower does not apologize for blooming, and neither should you. Then there are those who ask for your constant access, demanding your time, your attention, your availability, as if your existence exists only to revolve around them. They mistake your kindness for weakness, your warmth for submission. But your time is your life. If they cannot respect your boundaries, they do not deserve your presence. Distance is not coldness. Sometimes it is the highest form of respect for yourself. Perhaps the most manipulative request is the one that asks you to doubt yourself. They challenge your intuition, your experience, your instincts, not to sharpen you but to control you. When someone causes you to question your worth, your clarity, your inner compass, step away. Trust that still voice within. It has never betrayed you. What others call overreaction is often your spirit sounding the alarm. Listen to it. And finally, beware of those who ask for your forgiveness without change, who take your grace for granted, who repeat the same harm wrapped in new words. You are not here to heal people who refuse to take responsibility for their actions. Your love is sacred. Do not pour it into hands that are careless with your heart. So this is not just a warning. It is a reminder of who you are. You are not here to be pleasing. You are not here to be small. You are not here to be anyone's convenience. You are here to be rooted like a mountain, calm like a forest, fierce like a storm when needed, and silent like the breath before sunrise, powerful beyond perception. The moment you start walking away from those who ask you to betray yourself, you do not lose love. You gain freedom. You do not lose connection. You regain clarity. And in that clarity you rise. Not with noise, not with revenge, but with peace, with strength, with unshakable self-respect. And that is the most dangerous thing in the world, to those who seek to control you. You are not here to be asked for less. You are here to remember, again and again, that anything which costs you your peace, your purpose, your power, is too expensive. Let go, rise higher, and never look back. There is a quiet kind of wisdom that often goes unnoticed. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention, but it lives in the decisions you make when no one is watching. That wisdom is knowing how and when to protect your energy. And yet for many women, this wisdom is mistaken as selfishness by others, and sometimes even by themselves. From a young age, many women are conditioned to give, to say yes, to be accommodating, agreeable, soft-spoken and available, and the more they give, the more is expected. Their attention, their time, their emotional labor, their strength, all of it handed out like open hands to the world, hoping someone will notice that behind the giving is a soul becoming quietly drained. But what if the most powerful thing you could do is not to give more, but to step back? Not because you are bitter, not because you are hard-hearted, but because your peace is sacred, and your energy, once drained, cannot be easily restored. There was once a woman who walked with lightness, with joy, with a radiant kind of spirit. People were drawn to her not because she was perfect, but because she had something rare, presence. Her laughter was full. Her gaze, when it fell on you, made you feel seen. And because of that light, people came to her. They came with their needs, their complaints, their dramas, their expectations. At first she gave freely, with an open heart, believing that being kind meant never saying no. She answered every late-night call, fixed every broken plan, listened to every emotional outburst. She carried other people's storms in her heart as if they were her own. And slowly, without even realizing it, her light began to dim. She no longer walked with the same ease. Her eyes, once bright with clarity, began to lose their fire. Her smile still showed up, but it was no longer rooted in joy. Something deep within her was becoming heavy. And the truth was, it wasn't the world that changed. It was that she was giving too much of herself in places that did not honor her. Then one day, she sat by a river, alone, no phone, no noise, just the sound of the water, the wind in the trees, and her own breath. For the first time in a long time, she asked herself a question she had forgotten to ask. What do I need? The answer didn't come in words. It came in the form of a feeling. Relief. The relief of being alone. The peace of not having to explain herself. The ease of not holding space for anyone else but herself. And in that silence she realized something that would change her life. It is not selfish to protect your energy. It is necessary to protect your energy. It is necessary. Because the people who truly love you do not want you to burn out to keep them warm. They do not want you to bleed emotionally just so they can feel whole. The people who are worthy of your presence, your time, your soul, they will never require you to betray yourself. And so she began the slow work of returning to herself. She stopped picking up every phone call. She stopped saying yes when her body screamed no. She stopped explaining her silence, her boundaries, her distance. She began choosing where her energy went, like a gardener who finally realizes that not every soil is worthy of her seeds. Some people didn't understand. Some called her distant. Some said she had changed. But the truth is, she had simply remembered who she was before the world told her she had to be everything to everyone. There is a quiet revolution that happens when a woman decides to guard her energy. It's not loud. It doesn't always look like cutting people off or making declarations. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing silence over explanation, choosing solitude over noise, choosing stillness over chaos. And it is in those small, invisible choices that she reclaims her power. You see, your energy is your life force. It is not meant to be poured out endlessly like water from a broken jar. It is meant to be directed, focused, cherished, and anyone who demands from you without regard for your capacity is not asking for love, they are asking for sacrifice. And you were not born to be sacrificed. Some may guilt you, they may say you're being cold, that you're not who you used to be, and they're right. You are not. Because who you used to be was tired, was overextended, was constantly reaching for approval that never truly satisfied. Who you are now is different. You are learning that wisdom is not just in knowing who to let in, but who to let go of. The strength of a woman does not always show in how much she can endure. Sometimes it shows in how little she is willing to tolerate. The world will try to convince you that saying no is cruel. But remember this, saying yes to everyone is a slow death to yourself. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to your own well-being. So protect your peace like it is the last flame in a storm. Guard your energy like it is the treasure that fuels your spirit. Do not explain, do not justify. The river does not apologize for flowing in a new direction. The tree does not justify why its branches grow toward the sun. Your life is yours. Your energy is yours. And when you learn to protect it, you do not lose love. You make space for the right kind of love to find you. The kind that doesn't deplete you, but restores you. The kind that doesn't ask you to give up yourself, but helps you become even more of who you are. Let the world say what it will. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call it distance, coldness, change. You will know in your heart it is clarity. It is freedom. It is coming home. There is a strength that doesn't roar. It doesn't arrive with clenched fists or loud declarations. It moves quietly, like a steady breath in the middle of a storm. This strength is found in the moments when you decide to walk away. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but from a place of deep understanding that not everything or everyone deserves access to your soul. You see, the world often measures strength by how much you can endure, how long you can hold on, how far you can stretch yourself for the sake of others. But true strength, the kind that builds peace within, is not about how tightly you hold on. It's about what you're willing to release in order to protect your spirit. There was once a woman who had mastered the art of staying. Staying in friendships that dimmed her light. Staying in relationships that drained her joy. Staying in conversations where her words were twisted and her silence misunderstood. She told herself this was love, this was loyalty, this was commitment. She told herself that strong women don't walk away, they stay and fix what's broken. But one morning, after a night filled with overthinking and silent tears, she looked at herself in the mirror and saw someone she barely recognized. The strength was still there, but it was buried under layers of people-pleasing, of quiet suffering, of swallowing her truth. And in that still moment, something shifted. She realized that staying in places where her soul felt small was not strength. It was fear dressed as duty. Real strength, she discovered, was not in holding on, but in letting go. The first time she walked away, her hands shook, her heart pounded. The silence afterward felt loud. She second-guessed herself. She wondered if she was being too harsh, too cold, but deep down, beneath all the noise of doubt, she felt something powerful: peace. Not the kind of peace that comes when everything is perfect. No, this was the peace of alignment. The peace of knowing that for once she had chosen herself. Not out of ego, not out of pride, but out of the understanding that her well-being was her responsibility and she had neglected it long enough. Walking away isn't easy. It's not the glamorous act some people make it out to be. It's messy. It's emotional. It often comes with grief, not just for the person or situation you're leaving behind, but for the version of yourself that tolerated it for so long. But buried in that grief is a seed of something beautiful: growth. Because the more she walked away from what hurt her, the more she made space for what healed her. The more she released what no longer served her, the more she uncovered what truly mattered. She began to recognize her own patterns: how she had made herself small to avoid conflict, how she had overgiven in the hopes of being chosen, how she had ignored her intuition just to keep the peace. But peace at the cost of your soul is not peace, it's a slow suffocation. And she was no longer willing to shrink just to keep others comfortable. Every time you walk away from what diminishes you, you are walking towards something greater. You are walking toward clarity, toward strength, toward a version of yourself that is whole. Not because she has avoided pain, but because she has faced it and chosen healing. People may not understand. They may call you distant, difficult, dramatic. Let them. Their confusion is not your burden. You are not responsible for how they perceive your boundaries. You are only responsible for honoring them. And the truth is, anyone who is meant for your life will not be pushed away by your self-respect. They will recognize it. They will honor it. They will meet you where you are, not demand that you shrink for them. This kind of strength, the quiet, steady strength of walking away, is not loud. It doesn't need to prove anything. It simply is. It says, I deserve more. I deserve peace. I deserve joy that doesn't come with conditions. And I am willing to lose what is not meant for me in order to find what is. So if your spirit is tired, if your heart has been whispering that something isn't right, listen. Do not wait for the pain to become unbearable. Do not wait for the breaking point. You are allowed to leave now. You are allowed to walk away from people, places, and patterns that do not align with the woman you are becoming. This is your life, and the path ahead will not be lit by the approval of others. It will be lit by every step you take in the direction of your truth. Walk toward that light. Let every step be a reminder that you are not here to endure a life of quiet suffering. You are here to live fully, freely, fiercely, with love, with grace, and with the kind of strength that only grows when you choose yourself, again and again. There is a certain kind of request that comes wrapped in charm, cloaked in soft words, and laced with smiles, but carries the weight of something deeply dangerous. It doesn't sound like a threat, it sounds like a favor, a compromise, a little adjustment, but beneath its surface is the attempt to chip away at your integrity, piece by piece. It starts with something small. It's just this once, they say. Don't make a big deal out of it. You're overreacting, just go along with it. You feel a quiet pull inside, your gut shifting, your heart tightening. But the voice that's been trained to please, to be polite, to avoid conflict says, maybe they're right, maybe I am making too much of it. And so you say yes. You give in, you give up a value, a standard, a personal truth, just one. But that yes doesn't stand alone. It opens the door for more. The second request comes later. This time it's just a little more obvious. Don't say anything about what happened, okay? It's better that way. And now your silence is being used as a shield, not for peace, but for protection, not of you, but of someone else's choices. This is how it begins. The slow erosion of self, a request here, a compromise there. And with each one, a subtle message is sent to your soul: who you are is negotiable. But who you are is not a bargaining chip. Your integrity is not up for sale. There was once a woman who stood tall, not physically but spiritually. She had fought hard to build herself from the inside out. Through disappointment, through betrayal, through sleepless nights of self-reflection. She had finally reached a place where she knew her values. She knew her boundaries. She knew who she was when the world was quiet. That kind of strength doesn't come easily. It is earned. One day, someone she trusted deeply asked her for something that made her pause. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't dangerous. But it felt wrong. It went against something she believed in. At that moment, she faced a decision that many women face daily: betray herself to keep the peace, or honor herself and risk the relationship. Everything inside her wanted to avoid the discomfort, but the voice that had once been silenced, the voice that had been buried beneath years of people-pleasing, was now loud and clear. She said no. Not with anger, not with judgment, just with clarity. The fallout came: disappointment, accusations, emotional withdrawal. But she held firm, because she knew that when you start giving pieces of yourself away to keep people comfortable, you begin to vanish. Not all at once, but in small, almost invisible ways. Your integrity is your compass. When you betray it, you begin to drift. At first it's slow, you barely notice. But soon you find yourself in places that don't feel like home. Surrounded by people who don't truly see you. And worst of all, looking in the mirror and not recognizing the woman staring back. Integrity is not just about doing what's right when people are watching. It's about honoring your values when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it costs you something. You must understand, anyone who asks you to lie, to hide, to lower your standards, to be less than you are, is not asking for your help. They are asking for your self-betrayal. And nothing healthy, nothing lasting, nothing true is built on the ruins of your integrity. There is a sacred kind of peace that comes when your actions match your values. When your yes means yes and your no is respected. When you no longer bend yourself into smaller versions just to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold your light. Some may call you difficult. Some may say you've changed. Let them speak. Because if your truth threatens their comfort, it was never real comfort to begin with. Do not be afraid to disappoint people who are comfortable with your silence. Do not be afraid to be misunderstood by those who only valued you when you agreed. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to understand yourself and live accordingly. You may lose people, you may lose opportunities, but what you gain is far greater. You gain alignment, you gain respect from others, and more importantly from yourself. You gain a life that feels clean, honest, powerful. When a woman walks with integrity, she walks with freedom. She doesn't need to look over her shoulder. She doesn't need to rehearse her words. She doesn't need to adjust her soul to suit the situation. She is whole, she is grounded, she is clear. So let this be the reminder. If anyone asks for something that feels like a betrayal of who you are, pause, listen. That discomfort is your spirit trying to protect you. It is your highest self calling you back to center. You are not here to be twisted, adjusted, softened, or reshaped for someone else's ease. You are here to walk with power, to live in truth, and to never apologize for choosing both. There comes a point in life not marked by age but by experience, when you realize that not everyone is meant to go with you. It is one of the hardest, yet most liberating truths to accept. You begin to see clearly that your journey is sacred, and not everyone who started with you is destined to finish with you. This understanding doesn't arrive with fanfare or finality. It comes quietly, often in moments of reflection, when the noise of others fades and you are left alone with your intuition. That deep, undeniable voice within begins to speak, not with panic, but with certainty, and it says, "These people are no longer part of your path." At first there is resistance. You remember the memories, the laughter, the moments that felt so real. You convince yourself to keep reaching out, to keep hoping they'll meet you where you are now. But then something happens. You begin to grow. And as you grow, you begin to notice the distance, not the physical one, but the energetic one. You start feeling drained after conversations, unseen in spaces you used to feel safe, misunderstood when you express your evolving truth. There was once a woman who thought loyalty meant forever. She believed that once someone was close to her heart, they always would be. So she stayed. She held on to friendships that no longer breathed. She held on to relationships that no longer nourished. She thought walking away was betrayal. But slowly she began to notice the weight, a heaviness that came not from hardship, but from carrying people who were no longer walking, just pulling at her ankles. She felt it when her dreams were dismissed as unrealistic, when her excitement was met with silence, when her boundaries were seen as distance. She began to understand that staying connected to people who do not celebrate your evolution is not loyalty, it is self-abandonment. So one evening, she sat in stillness. She closed her eyes. She placed her hand over her heart and asked herself a single question. Do they still belong in my story? And for the first time, she allowed the answer to be honest, not sentimental, not polite, just true. Some answers came quickly. Others took time. But one by one, she began to release. Not with anger, not with resentment, with love. Because letting go isn't always about cutting off. Sometimes it's simply about loosening your grip. You begin to understand that holding on can hurt more than letting go. The people who are meant for your path will never require you to dull your light to keep them comfortable. They will never ask you to apologize for your boundaries, your healing, or your voice. They will not mock your growth, dismiss your spiritual clarity, or call your solitude strange. They will see you as you are, evolving, imperfect, grounded, And they will not just accept it, they will honor it. But to make space for those people, you must first clear the path. You must be willing to face the discomfort of being alone. Because alone is not empty. Alone is honest. Alone is where you meet yourself again, where you remember what peace feels like, where your energy is no longer being siphoned by people who were only meant to teach you, not to stay with you. This is not cruelty. This is alignment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your growth is to gently close the door on those who are not ready to meet you where you are. Let them go without hate. Wish them well, but do not walk backwards trying to bring them forward. Because your path requires clarity. It requires strength. It requires a level of peace that cannot be sustained while dragging people who do not want to rise with you. You are not abandoning them. You are choosing yourself. And the more you choose yourself, the more you begin to notice the right ones show up. The ones who listen with open hearts, who reflect your growth, who add to your calm instead of feeding your chaos. They do not take your energy. They match it. They do not question your healing, they honor it. But they cannot enter your space if that space is full of the wrong ones. So protect your path, not with walls of bitterness, but with gates of discernment. Let your soul decide who stays, not your guilt. Let your peace determine your circle, not your past, and let your growth be your guide. You are not here to carry the weight of people who refuse to walk beside you. You are not here to twist yourself into versions that others can tolerate. You are here to rise, with grace, with quiet strength, with deep inner peace. And that rise will not be for everyone to understand, but it is not meant for them. It is meant for you. Walk on. Let the ones who are ready walk with you, and let the rest go in peace. You must understand this now, once and for all. You were not born to be a background character in someone else's story. You were not created to live a life of quiet compromise, shrinking yourself into boxes built by other people's fears. There is something fierce and undeniable about your spirit. It was made to rise, to lead, to stand in full alignment with your truth. And yet the world will always try to make you forget. It will hand you labels, limits, and expectations. It will tell you to be nice when you should be powerful, to stay small when you were meant to take up space, to remain silent when your voice could change everything. But let this be the moment where that forgetting ends. Let this be the hour in which you return to yourself. Not the version of you that was shaped by pain, rejection, and pretending, but the real you. The you who knows, deep down, what she stands for. The you who remembers that walking away is not failure, it is freedom. The you who refuses to stay anywhere you have to sacrifice your dignity for acceptance. Because there comes a time when surviving isn't enough. You begin to crave a life that reflects your values, your energy, your purpose. And for that life to be born, you must be willing to release what was only meant to be a chapter, not the whole story. You must stop watering dead plants. You must stop begging for honesty in spaces built on convenience. You must stop confusing being needed with being respected. The truth is, peace is not passive. Peace is power. Peace is what you build when you remove yourself from people and places that thrive off your confusion, that feed off your doubts, that weaponize your empathy. And the path to that peace is paved with choices, bold, brave, often painful ones, that declare, I will not betray myself for anyone. There will be people who do not understand this transformation. Let them go. There will be voices who say you've changed. Let them speak. There will be days when your strength will be tested, when the pull to go back to old patterns will feel heavy. Let it pass. You did not come this far to live in the shadows of your own potential. You came to stand in the light of everything you are and everything you are becoming. Do not fear being misunderstood. Do not fear being alone. The cost of being fully yourself is that not everyone will stay. But the reward is far greater. You will finally belong to yourself. And once you belong to yourself, no one can ever make you feel lost again. There's a famous line, let them sleep while you grind. Let them party while you work. The difference will show. But here's what's even more powerful. Let them misunderstand you while you evolve. Let them question you while you heal. Let them gossip while you protect your peace. The difference will not only show, it will shine. Your silence is powerful. Your boundaries are holy. Your ability to walk away without bitterness is your superpower. Because it means you have finally realized that your energy is not owed to everyone. It is sacred. It is limited. And those who cannot honor it do not deserve to sit at your table. Be like the ocean, calm on the surface, but powerful in depth. Be like fire, warm enough to comfort, but strong enough to burn what no longer serves. Be like the mountain, still, grounded, unshakable. Let your presence be your protest. Let your peace be your answer. Let your elevation be your revenge. There is a warrior inside you, not the kind that fights with noise and anger, but the kind that rises every time she is overlooked, dismissed, or betrayed. The kind that turns pain into wisdom, solitude into sanctuary, and endings into sacred beginnings. That warrior doesn't seek approval. She doesn't beg for belonging. She walks alone when she must, because she knows that solitude in truth is far more nourishing than company in compromise. So rise, not to prove, not to chase, not to impress, but because your soul demands it. Rise because the world doesn't need more women who are just trying to survive. It needs women who are fully alive, awake, grounded, rooted in their worth, anchored in self-respect. Remember what they said? She's too much, yes, too deep, too honest, too passionate, too powerful for shallow waters. Let them call you too much. It's far better than being not enough for yourself. You were never meant to be watered down. You were meant to overflow. And as you walk forward from this moment, lighter, clearer, stronger, do so with your head high. Not because you have something to prove, but because you finally understand that your worth was never up for debate. You are not what people expect you to be. You are what you choose to become. In the end, those who asked you to give up your voice, your values, your vision, they did not lose you. They lost access to you, and that difference is everything. You are not for everyone. You never were, and that is your magic. Protect it, live it, own it. The world needs more of that. The world needs more of you. Unfiltered, unshaken, unstoppable.